Mercury is going retrograde for the holidays, and this could mean absolute chaos for your holiday travel plans and your New Year's resolutions. Luckily, this Mercury retrograde does start out nicely, though, with Mercury stationing in Capricorn on December 13th while making a beautiful, harmonious aspect to the two benefic planets, Venus and Jupiter, making this an excellent time to kick back a bit, rest your brain, and enjoy some pleasant casual conversation or introspection. Unfortunately, this energy won't last long. Mercury will quickly move backward into the sign of Sagittarius, where it's going to make an inflammatory conjunction with Mars while squaring Neptune, the planet of confusion and disillusionment. And this will happen just in time for the Christmas holiday and the start of the new year. This does not bode well for pleasant conversation around the dinner table, nor is it good for creating concrete goals and plans for the future that are anywhere near being reasonable or realistic. Now, I don't want you to think that you'll have a complete disaster on your hands this holiday season. That likely won't be the case, but you're definitely going to want to listen to the rest of this forecast to learn how to work with this energy so you can enjoy a pleasant and productive holiday season. In this video, I'll be covering the astrology for the entire Mercury retrograde through Capricorn and Sagittarius, which lasts from December 13th of 2023 until January 1st of 2024. But before we get into that, I just want to remind you all of how to make the best possible use of the free astrology insight I'm providing for you today. So in case you're new to my channel or need a refresher, my name is Heather Eland. Hello, welcome. I'm a professional astrologer and I teach astrology. I release new astrology forecasts and tutorials here on my channel every single Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update. The way I structure my videos is that I always begin with a 10 to 15 minute general overview of the energy for the next, in this case, 3 weeks ahead. Please don't skip this because this is going to provide an important context for what we're going to be covering in the forecast for your sign. Speaking of which, when we do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen for your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the next 2 weeks ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I give a 2 to 3 minute sneak preview of what to expect for the next forecast, which leads me to kind of a big announcement. If you didn't hear it last week, you're hearing it with me here now today, this week. So beginning next week, I'm going to be doing something a little different with my forecasts, which I'm super, super excited about. And hopefully you guys will be excited about this too. Let me know in the comment section if you are. So on Saturday, December 9th, I'm going to release my very first super detailed quarterly astrology forecast covering the energy for the entire winter here in the northern hemisphere or the summer down in the southern hemisphere, the entire period from the solstice all the way until the equinox. This video is going to include an extended presentation on the biggest, most impactful astrological influences lasting from December 21st of 2023 all the way through to March 19th of 2024. And of course, I'm also going to be doing an all signs forecast for the entire winter season so you can plan and prepare for what's ahead. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, you guys, because this is a video you're not going to want to miss. There's going to be a lot of juicy information. This is something that you're going to want to watch and rewatch and come back to over the course of the entire winter season, or of course summer if you're down in the south. And so yeah, hit that subscribe button, stick around for that. All right, so getting into the general energy of the Mercury retrograde, you guys, this is kind of a big one. So a few different things are happening here. So first and foremost, the Mercury retrograde pre-shadow begins on November 25th. So we're already kind of in that period. The very first kind of major transit that's going to be triggered between the onset of the pre-shadow and the onset of the actual Mercury retrograde is going to be that Mercury square to Neptune. And so that's going to come exact while Mercury is moving direct on November 27th. And so when we're talking about the pre-shadow, we're talking about the prelude to something that we're going to have to come back to and revisit during that period from December 13th through January 1st when Mercury is in retrograde. And so that first big triggering moment of Mercury square Neptune is a moment of confusion. It's a moment of not seeing the forest for the trees, where we're able to kind of like see all of these beautiful, wonderful potentials, but we're not being able, we're we're lacking the ability to be realistic about our expectations, the decisions we're making, the thoughts we're having, the ideas, the plans, all of it. And so something about that is going to come back around in a bigger, more intense way during the actual Mercury retrograde. And that's going to happen. Let's see here. That's going to happen super exact on December 27th. So literally 1 month after we have the Mercury square to Neptune while Mercury's direct, it comes back around in retrograde. And so on December 27th, we don't only have Mercury squaring Neptune again, but we also have Mercury conjunct Mars in Sagittarius. That makes this energy very volatile, very nebulous, very all over the place, very confusing. And so it's like something that came up that we thought was going to go one way, but we were kind of operating from a place of delusion or illusion or just not really seeing things clearly at the end of November, comes back around in a very intense way that causes some sort of conflict for us. And that conflict is going to be very hard to navigate. It's going to be very hard to be discerning. It's going to be very hard to understand what the heck is going on. And on the world stage, the kind of world at large, this tends to bring weird stuff as well. Mars square, opposition, and conjunct Neptune almost always brings something that is usually relatively violent. I'm going to be straightforward with you guys. It's not always the case, and hopefully it won't be the case for the holiday season, but we do see that quite a bit. And when stuff like that does come up, when it comes to the Mars squares to Neptune, it's always super weird. There's like a weird energy, a weird narrative, a weird story, a lot of confusion around what the real story is. And so that is something we could be seeing from that period of like Christmas all the way through to when Mars stations to go direct, or not Mars, when Mercury stations to go direct, because it's stationing in square with this Neptune energy and in a conjunction with Mars still. And so that's going to be a big, big energy toward the end of December and into the start of January. It's going to really embody a lot of the energy through the holiday season. This is an energy too that makes it very hard to be discerning in conversation with other people, because Mercury is communication. And so we might be arguing our point, but not realizing that we don't have all the facts. We might want to, argue with Uncle Chuck because he, has a different political opinion than us at the holiday dinner table. But we might be the ones that are wrong, even though we feel aggressively self-righteous. That is the way to describe Mars in Sagittarius, by the way. My favorite descriptor for it is aggressively self-righteous. People are going to be feeling like that. And so you have to be cautious. You have to pick your battles. You have to kind of keep your cool, because you're going to end up putting your foot in your mouth quite a lot if you don't, because you're going to be speaking out of just being naive, not knowing the whole facts, not knowing the whole story, not really being able to see another person's perspective, or just straight up being confused or delusional about what it is that you're saying. And so that's going to lead to a lot of people arguing points that are incorrect and not really worth arguing. So, avoid that. Use this for creativity. Use this for imagination. Use this for storytelling. Use this for doing something, more Neptunian in a positive way. So, maybe use this to watch movies with your family that take you on a fantasy journey, that take your mind for, an adventure. Use this for, having conversations that are more imaginative, that are more free flowing and free thinking, that are more, fun and whimsical, as opposed to argumentative and delusional, because nobody needs or wants that, right? Because this can be it's like a polarizing energy, but only because everyone's confused and nobody really has all of the facts and all of their ducks in a row. And this might not have to do with political discussions on the holidays or whatever. This could be, with any important discussions that you're having around this time and through the end of the year. The biggest thing with this is that you're going to want to make sure that You have your plans really well thought out, especially when it comes to your plans for the new year, your New Year's resolutions. But you're also going to want to make sure that you have wiggle room and that you don't just jump right in on January 1st. Give it at least until the 2nd, if not a few days after, to really allow the energy to start to separate, especially with that Mars Neptune and Mercury to move forward and move on. It's really not going to be moved on from that energy fully, really until the second week of January, because on January 8th, Mercury makes its final square to Neptune in Pisces. And so this is on and off and on and off and on and off. And so it could be that we make our New Year's resolutions, we make our New Year's plans, and something comes up at the end of December, start of January, where we have to kind of pivot and make a lot of really big adjustments because we realize that what we set in motion was not realistic. It wasn't reasonable. It was a little, a little too wild. We allowed our imaginations too much free reign and weren't really focused on what's realistic and what we can actually do here on planet Earth in our reality. And so that's a big part of this energy. And that's a big thing we'll be talking about as we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, because it's going to be the most challenging to navigate. And I don't want to focus just on the negative because there's really a lot of positive, and we're going to talk about that too in just a second. But this is where people are going to get caught up. This is where people are going to end up putting themselves in a bad place or a bad position. And so, I want to make sure that you guys are aware of this and that you're planning for it and that you're working with it in a creative, compassionate, intuitive way. Having compassionate, wonderful, beautiful conversations with other people, that can happen. You might feel very amped up about it for some reason with that Mars energy, but it can happen, right? You can channel that energy positively toward speaking out about something that you really care about that is intended to help people that are maybe less fortunate, or, to do something charitable. This would be a really great energy for channeling this into a plan or an action that is charitable in nature. That's one of the best ways that you could probably use this energy. And even if that charity is just towards somebody that you love and care about, like in your family or your friends or your social circle or your community, that's a wonderful thing that you can do with this. And so, especially if you're feeling really heated and really amped up and you want to just fight people and argue about things, maybe shift that energy and feel really intense about helping people instead. That could be something good to do with it. But in terms of the actual Mercury station, so let's backtrack here because I jumped a little bit ahead because of where we start with the pre-shadow. But moving on into the Mercury pre-shadow period. So Mercury is going to be in Capricorn on December 1st. And after it moves into Capricorn, it's going to sextile Saturn in Pisces, which it's going to do a couple more times throughout this retrograde period and the post-shadow. And it's also going to trine Jupiter and sextile Venus. And this is the really beautiful energy that I love, 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 love. This is an energy of thinking clearly, of speaking very clearly, of being very well understood and reciprocated in your communications, ideas, connections with other people. This is a really great time for you to have really beautiful, brilliant ideas. And so instead of waiting until, the last minute to make your travel plans, to make your New Year's resolutions, those types of things, this would be a good period from December 2nd through the 11th. And even beyond that, when Mercury's stationing, that would be a really good introspective time period around the 13th, where Mercury will be stationing in a trine with Jupiter and a sextile with Venus. And so this is going to be a really beautiful, powerful time where Mercury is bringing up something internally. And these are going to be really positive things. It's going to be bringing up opportunities through your ideas, through your communications, through your insights that come through around this period. And so use this wisely. This is a really great time to also just relax your mind. So if your brain has been on overdrive, if you've been thinking, planning with Mercury and Capricorn of all signs too, This is a time maybe to take a step back and to enjoy like indulging your brain in something that just kind of winds you down or relaxes you. Read a really good book, listen to a really fun podcast, do something that's not so serious, have really beautiful, fun, lighthearted conversations with people. This is a great energy for all of those things, and I love it for that. And this is going to come exact again a couple more times. So it comes exact with that trine to Jupiter on December 18th. So really that entire period through really the 22nd, because that's when we're going to have on the 21st, Mercury sextile Saturn, which is grounding our thoughts and making them so we can create plans and ideas or have communications that are going to be more concrete and that are going to have some sort of realistic results. So it's like, this is such a weird Mercury retrograde, you guys, because it's like we're so grounded, we're so realistic, our thoughts are flowing, everything is just like moving intellectually, interconnectedly in our relationships, in our connections with other people. Our brains are really sharp and really on top of it. And then all of the sudden, Mercury moves back into Sagittarius and they're not. We feel stuck, we feel confused, we feel like just maybe really intense and really inflammatory and really angry or easily agitated. We feel like confused about what's going on. It's like, it was so clear just a couple of days ago. It was so clear. And then all of a sudden it's not. And that is going to be such a stark contrast. It's going to feel, I think, like on the day of Mercury re-entering Sagittarius on the 22nd of December, you're going to feel that. You're going to be like, I feel wonky. I feel foggy. My brain does not feel right. I can't think straight, especially if you have a lot of mutable energy. So if you have a lot of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces energy, you're going to be not as sharp as you normally are. And that's going to be hard, especially for the Virgos and the Geminis. And so yeah, just keep that in mind. And if you do have a lot of mutable energy, plan lightly during those periods in general, and especially when it comes to your mental load. Like take a brain vacation if you can. Use up all your brain power while Mercury is making those positive aspects to, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn prior to that time period. So that is kind of my spiel about the energy overall. Before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I just wanted to mention, for those of you who are interested in learning more about your own chart, I do still have a free gift for you. The astrological houses are a topic that's probably been distorted by more misinformation and controversy than any other topic in astrology, which has made it really difficult for astrologers to truly understand the meanings of the 12 houses, and even more difficult to piece the information together coherently to create accurate interpretations and give meaningful astrology readings. Well, I would like to change that. So that's why I'm unlocking our entire module on the 12 houses from the Cosmic Academy of Astrology for free for 10 whole days. This free module on the houses also serves as a preview of the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, where you're going to have an opportunity to get a sneak peek inside of my most popular and comprehensive astrology course. And by the way, the link for that is down below to enroll in the 12 houses. And so the Cosmic Academy of Astrology is the place for astrologers just like you who are tired of sifting through piles of disconnected and disorganized information from YouTube and books, only to be left feeling frustrated and confused when you try to piecemeal it together to give a reading. In the Academy, we offer a structured step-by-step approach to learning astrology that logically layers the information. And the best part is you won't be doing it alone. In addition to over 120 hours of pre-recorded lessons covering everything you need to read natal charts and make complex predictions with confidence, the Academy includes live study group sessions, Q&A calls, and an active and engaging student community where you can ask questions, get answers from expert astrologers, myself included, and connect with like-minded astrology lovers just like you to learn, practice, and grow together. Even if you're not ready to join us in the Academy, you can still unlock 10-day access to our module on the astrological houses and benefit from all of the information and resources we've provided free of charge. My gift to you. The link is down in the description below. All right, so let's get into that forecast for all 12 signs. So for each of these forecasts for all of the 12 signs, I'm going to have two different charts pulled up. The first is going to be the chart for when Mercury stations to go retrograde, where it's in that really close, beautiful alignment in trine with Jupiter and in sextile with Venus. And the second is going to be for when Mercury stations to go direct, where it's going to be in a close conjunction still with Mars, and it's going to be squaring Neptune. And so both of these charts do a really good job of highlighting those contrasting energies, the before and the after. And so you want to think about it in terms of this first chart, this chart that I'm going to be showing you guys before we get into like the Mercury stationing to go direct. That's going to last really all the way up until December 22nd when we have Mercury moving into Sagittarius. And the second chart that we're going to be showing for each of the 12 signs, that's really going to be showing us what's happening December 22nd onward. All right. And so for Aries and for Aries rising, so for Aries, this energy is happening in your 10th house with Mercury stationing to go retrograde there. This is a really beautiful time from especially now through December 22nd in particular, where there's something that's coming up here that you need to revisit when it comes to your work, your career, what it is that you put out there into the world at large for public consumption, the legacy that you leave behind after your working years that could bring in more money. I mean, this is a really beautiful, harmonious energy for ideas, communications, connections, or reforming old connections with bosses, superiors, people in positions of power and authority that can bring in more resources. And so this is a money-making Mercury retrograde energy at the start. However, when we move into Mercury in Sagittarius, when it comes into that conjunction with Mars and squares Neptune, where it's going to stay through the end of the Mercury retrograde and really into the start of the new year, this is going to be a little bit trickier. So there's something that you feel very... I don't know, have a better word for it. Aggressively self-righteous about. People get mad when I say that for some reason. You feel aggressively self-righteous about an idea, about a belief, about something that you hold true when it comes to your ideological philosophies, values, belief systems, your religious beliefs, something along those lines, where you're going to want to argue your point to death, but there's something behind the scenes. There's something that is being hidden from you that you don't fully understand. And so if you argue your point to death, you're going to be putting your foot in your mouth, because later on you're going to realize that you were confused about the facts, or you were confused about how things really are out in the world. And so, this is just something to kind of be aware of. Although for Aries, this isn't the worst energy out of all of the signs, because this is going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon. So especially if you're an Aries sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees, this could actually be really positive for you, even though there is some confusion around your integrity, your ideas, your belief systems. There's also this really... It's almost like you have to revisit something more intensely around those ideas in order to incorporate them more fully into who you are and the way that you show up in the world. And so you're aligning yourself with your integrity, but first you have to kind of go back on a couple of different things and clear some stuff up when it comes to the facts around something. There could be some sort of confusion or difficulty, especially something that comes up very suddenly around travel plans. And so if you are traveling for the holidays, hopefully you're leaving before the 22nd of December. And if not, that's okay. Just plan lightly and know that you're going to potentially have some confusion and some travel mishaps. Double and triple check your dates and times, and make sure that you get to the airport in plenty of time. And even then you might have some delays. So it's not like the worst thing in the world, but travel plans are the thing that is going to be the most likely to go awry for you. There could be some confusion or misinformation or miscommunication around higher education. So if you're somebody who's in school or connections with somebody in a foreign country, something along those lines could come up. But really, for the most part, this is not going to be affecting you super negatively. Even if these things do happen, the end result for you, I think, is most likely going to be positive. So it's going to be more of an annoyance than this big major catastrophic event for Aries in particular. Okay. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy with the Mercury stationing to go retrograde, this beautiful Jupiter-Venus alignment that it's creating, is wonderful for you, Taurus, because Jupiter's in your sign, especially if you're a Taurus sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees, really 5 to like 12 degrees. You're going to be feeling this in a very beautiful, very positive, very harmonious way. Your brain is going to be online. You're going to be getting messages from the universe, messages from potentially people too, like teachers, like wisdom is going to be coming to you from all sides, from all different areas. And that's going to really impact you in a very positive, very beautiful way. Opportunities can come to you through messages from people in foreign countries or messages from teachers. Opportunities can come to you through these big, expansive ideas that you're having, especially through to December 22nd. After that, things shift a little bit. But yeah, I love this energy also for connecting one-on-one with people. This is a beautiful time now, really until not really now as you're watching this. It might be now. Let me check my dates again, actually. But like pretty much now. Yeah, so actually it is now, the day that this is being released. So now, now through December 22nd, this is a beautiful time to connect one-on-one with people, to share big ideas, to collaborate for the future, for future plans and goals. This is a really great time to plan travel for the coming year, but don't do it after the 22nd of December, because that's when things get wonky. But, you know, up until that point, this is a beautiful energy for you. This is a time where you can reflect on also like old curriculum, old teachings that you kind of have just kind of let fall by the wayside that you might want to bring back into the mix, and that can benefit you in ways that you might not understand just yet. The second half of the Mercury retrograde after December 22nd through the 1st and beyond into the new year, Mercury is going to be stationing to go direct in conjunction with Mars and in square with Neptune. And this is happening in your 8th and in your 11th house. There is some sort of very acute, very like all of a sudden confusion around finances. And it starts around the 25th of November or the 27th of November. Sorry. And so something around the 27th of November happens. You're maybe a little confused about it, but it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And it comes back around and it is kind of a big deal. And so around that time period, toward the end of this year, start of next year, that's going to be a big period of confusion, disillusionment, arguments, disputes, conflict around money, conflict around resources that can come up for you very abruptly. And so that's something that's going to be a source of contention between you potentially and your friends or other people in your social circle. There could be power struggles and issues like that surrounding money and resources. There could be something coming up involving debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money. Maybe don't talk money at the dinner table with your family. Maybe don't bring up like finances with your family around the holidays or with your friends, because something weird is going on here. And it's almost like you feel like you have to argue your point or you have to take care of it right this second, but you don't have all the facts just yet. And it's almost as if the other people that are involved in this are confusing the crap out of you. And so you're not going to be able to see it clearly until Mercury goes direct in December and you get that final pass on January 8th of Mercury squaring Neptune. And it's like, that's when you get the resolution and things finally become clear. So if that happens around the holidays, just sit tight. If you have to address something right away, address it, but don't be so worried, because it's going to come back around and it's going to get resolved and you're not going to be able to see it clearly until then anyway. So if you can put a pin in it and just pause and then come back to it later, everything will become much more clear. For Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, Mercury is in your 8th house, stationing to go retrograde in this beautiful harmonious trine with Jupiter in your 12th house and Venus in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. The 12th house is the house of rest. The 8th house, this is kind of an interesting energy. So there is something here potentially to do with money, that you get an idea or an opportunity or a message that comes back to you during the Mercury retrograde. It's something from the past that you're revisiting and you're having to kind of sit with it and think about it and contemplate it and maybe rehash it in some way, involving potentially your work and your day-to-day work habits and routines. But also it could be, that would be the biggest thing. But this could also be a really good, beautiful energy for healing. It's like something that you have connected with in the past, or tried in the past, or learned about in the past, involving especially like deeper forms of healing, psychological healing, healing through trauma, healing through those big, fears and wounds from your past. Like, this is a really beautiful time where you can revisit some of those things and you can heal through it very quickly and very easily, in ways that you normally couldn't, especially if you're diving deep, if you're doing things that are maybe a little outside of the box or alternative even. With that, 12th house Jupiter kind of starting to align with Uranus, but especially that 12th house Jupiter, that's a really great energy for dream work or hypnosis or something along those lines. And this can have physical ramifications with Venus, even in its fall in your 6th house, it's still Venus. And so it's trying to bring harmony and balance back to your body in some way. And so utilize this up until the 22nd of December wisely, because it's a beautiful energy for clearing up your finances, healing through a lot of psychological stuff, healing the body, maybe spending some time relaxing and resting as well. The second half of the Mercury retrograde is a little bit different. This looks like it's very ripe for conflict, arguments, disputes, disagreements, literally one-on-one with people that you care about, especially in your marriage partnership. If you are married, it could be a little dicey, around the holidays. There's something going on here where you're feeling really frustrated, where you're feeling like lashing out. It's almost like you're on edge and you're irritable and you're taking it out on your partner, or your partner is doing that to you. And so there's like this tension in the relationship, and it's misguided and it's misdirected because of that Neptunian energy. You both don't really know what you're upset about. You both don't really know what you're feeling agitated about. You just know that you're feeling agitated and you're around each other, so you're lashing out. And it doesn't have to be your partner. It could be anyone that you're close with. This would be, a holiday season, I would say, just tread lightly. Like, don't force your hand. Don't force people to agree with you about things. Try not to argue if you can. Sometimes you're going to be the one that's being argued with, especially in the 7th house. So it's not necessarily up to you, but what is up to you is how you respond to the arguments, to the negativity, to the tension that's being thrown your way. You don't have to engage with it. You can choose otherwise. And so I would say choose otherwise, because that person is confused. That person is maybe a little delusional. That person is naive in some way. And you probably are too. Like, nobody understands really the full picture right now. And it is going to resolve itself, especially at the start of January. So if that is the case, don't worry too much about it. Try not to get too deep into it, and just know that you'll get clarity very quickly in a couple of weeks, and all of this will kind of blow over. So, but there is something you have to revisit here involving like an argument, dispute, disagreement with somebody you care about. It's going to be something from the past that's being brought back up around the holiday season. Again, just know that you don't have to engage so heavily with it, because it's not worth it right now, because it's not going to get resolved until January. So, try to kind of step back and enjoy yourself instead. With the energy for Cancer and Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this is happening in your 7th house with Mercury stationing to go retrograde. This is a beautiful, beautiful energy for the start of the Mercury retrograde. This really lasts until the 22nd. And this is going to be a really wonderful time for connecting one-on-one with people, for rehashing an old flame or an old romance even. You're going to feel very clear when it comes to your connections and your understanding and your mutual respect for other people during this time. This is a beautiful time to connect with your friends, especially people that you love, people that you connect with and spend time with because you enjoy it, because you want to, not because you have to. That's really what this 11th house component of this is all about. And so I do really love this energy for a lot of reasons. This is going to be a really good time to revisit a connection with an old friend or an old flame, I would say. Normally during Mercury retrograde, you shouldn't do that. But during the first part of this Mercury retrograde, there's a reason for it. It's like you have to do this in order to either wrap something up or bring it back around. And so I would say, yes, but just knowing that it's a Mercury retrograde and that whatever it is that is coming back in, it doesn't mean that it's coming back to stay necessarily. This is a really good time to renegotiate contracts or agreements with other people. So don't necessarily sign on the dotted line until after Mercury goes direct in January, but start renegotiating the terms and rethinking the terms between two parties. That would be another really great way that you could utilize this energy. But in general, it's a really beautiful time to connect with others until January or December 22nd. And that's when things get a little weird. So, Mars and Mercury are in this conjunction in your 6th house with Mercury stationing there, in square with Neptune in your 9th house. There's something going on with your work, your health, or your daily routines that feels really tense. It feels like during the holidays, all of a sudden, like you are having this beautiful time, like chatting with everyone, really social, and then all of a sudden you have work, and you can't stop thinking about it because you're getting messages, you're getting phone calls, you're getting bothered for this thing and that thing. And, there's just a blurring of boundaries here where you're not standing up for your beliefs, your values, your ideologies. And there's a conflict between also what's going on with your work and your beliefs and ideologies and your moral values and things like that. And so there's a lot of conflict going on here in those areas. If you're not somebody who's working, it could just be that your day-to-day life becomes very, very hectic and you are going to be prone to burning out. So I would say for you, don't be the hostess during the holidays or the host. Don't put everything on your plate because you're going to be busy, and you're going to be very likely to fizzle and burn out. And so you want to make sure that you are having really good boundaries when it comes to the work that you're putting in on a day-to-day basis, because that could impact your health in some way. This is an energy where you're going to be feeling frazzled and like overblown when it comes to just day-to-day reality and the work that you're putting in. So don't add more stress to your plate if you can. Like delegate as much as you can to other people. And also know that could be a source of conflict too, because this is the 6th house is the house of service. And so if you have like paid employees or something like that, there could be arguments, disputes, disagreements, or like things that come up that you very suddenly that you have to revisit or redo or change something about when it comes to those connections as well. For Leo and for Leo rising, this energy with Mercury stationing to go, that's the wrong one. There we go. This energy with Mercury, stationing to go retrograde for Leo rising is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. And this is making a very beautiful, very harmonious trine to Jupiter in your 10th house. This is a great time to revisit old ideas, old projects, old connections that have to do with your work, with your career, with your big career goals and plans. There's something that seems very small, very minor, very fleeting that comes up in November that in December you have to revisit and it becomes a bigger thing. And this can create a lot of possibilities, a lot of opportunities for you when it comes to your career. This could also create some beautiful opportunities or just a rebalancing of energy when it comes to your home and your family life. It's not going to be as big of an energy because, Venus is in its fall or it's in its detriment actually. Venus is in its detriment and it's in sextile, so it's not as big of an energy, but it's still there. So it's kind of like something in your day-to-day life or work routines causes a rebalancing when it comes to your day-to-day or your home life and your connections with your family. And that also causes something really beautiful to start to unfold and grow or regrow. It's like something maybe you forgot about and you left kind of sitting there. And all of a sudden it's coming back around for you when it comes to your career or when it comes to an important connection with somebody in a position of power and authority, even if you're not somebody who's working. This is a good energy too for finding somebody that you can look up to when it comes to your health and keep taking care of your body. So if there's something that's been kind of weighing on your mind, it's almost like you have to revisit an old way of healing or of taking care of yourself. But there's somebody there that comes back around, like a teacher from your past that can provide guidance and that can help you through the process. At the second half of the Mercury retrograde, so after December 22nd and through that Mercury stationing to go direct period, Mercury is going to be in a conjunction with Mars. It's going to be squaring Neptune. It's going to be in your 5th house, so it's not as bad for Leos. There could be some sort of tension or chaos or like crunchiness around children. So if you do have children, they might be driving you crazy. They might be extra energized. They might be mouthing off to you a little bit more. And that could be a source of stress. That could be a source of tension. If you are I would say that you don't really understand exactly what's going on or why just yet, though. So it's kind of like they're doing this, but you don't know why they're misbehaving. Like you think it's one thing, but later you figure out that there's a completely different reason for it. So keep that in mind as well. I will say though that, for the most part, this energy is something that's really beautiful, especially if you are a Leo, sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees. This is going to be trining your ascendant, sun, or moon. This is going to be providing this like oomph, this energy. It's kind of like there's something in November that you thought about doing that you felt really passionate about. And all of a sudden it comes back around and you have to revisit it in December, especially in like start of January even. And you're like, this is the thing I'm going to do for the new year. There's something you're confused about here. There's something you're not seeing clearly, but this is still important. And this is still something that you have to run with. Just know that you got to be flexible because something about this is going to change because there is some sort of confusion around it too. But for the most part, I love this energy for that. Not the best energy though for rehashing old love affairs and flings. Don't answer that 3 a.m. text message from the ex-boyfriend. That won't go well. But if you're bringing back in something that you're passionate about and that's something that's going to be a big part of the new year for you, I think this could be really beautiful as long as you just are aware that there's something you're not seeing clearly just yet. And so wait until middle of January to really jump in with all of it. So don't go all in just yet. And then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this energy is happening with Mercury stationing to go retrograde in your 5th house, which is the house of passion, creativity. It's the house of sexuality. It's the house of play. It's the house of romance. It's the house of fun. It's the house of going out there and, having a fun night on the town. And Mercury being there is, I think, a really beautiful thing. So you're going to be thinking a lot about the things that you're passionate about, the things that you love to do. And there's something here that you have to revisit. So there's an important communication or connection coming back around involving your passions, involving your hobbies, involving your interests. There could even be like a learning opportunity or an educational opportunity that maybe you did it once, but you didn't go all in, and now it's coming back around and you can actually embrace it. And this lasts until December 22nd. And so this is a really beautiful energy for that. I think that this is a great energy too for revisiting like travel plans to a place you've already gone to. Maybe you're doing it in December, or maybe, you're planning it for the new year. Either way, I think this is great timing for something along those lines, especially if it's something that you're redoing or you're having to kind of replan something that was already in motion, but that's okay because it's going to turn out a lot better this second time around. In general, this is great energy for travel for Virgo rising, as long as you're doing it before the 22nd. So your holiday travel plans should go well if you're leaving a little early at least. And then for the Mercury stationing to go direct, this is going to be in your 4th house in a conjunction with Mars, squaring Neptune in your 7th house. I'm sorry, Virgo, but this is not a great energy for connecting with family and loved ones. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be terrible, because it's not. I mean, Venus is going to be down there in the 4th house too. It's going to be helping to maintain the balance a little bit, but it's also squaring Saturn. So, really this is going to be a test of your willpower and a test of your ability to just control yourself. You're going to be feeling a little bit more irritated, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more argumentative. Your family members might be doing and saying things that are more inflammatory. There might be things at home that you really have to address that come up really abruptly that you have to revisit. There could be a lot of confusion and like misinformation going back and forth around some sort of important contract or agreement or negotiation around this time. And if you are in dispute with your family members, just know that nobody in this mix really knows what they're talking about. Nobody has the whole picture just yet. Take a step back, breathe, rest, pull yourself out of it. Make sure that you give yourself time to respond rather than just reacting to the situation, because you don't really want to be putting your foot in your mouth later when you find out that you were completely mistaken and that thing that you thought Aunt Susie did was not what she did, and whatever it is that goes on for you. Just know that in the new year that this will clear up for you, especially after January 8th, and you're not going to be able to really see the whole picture until that point. So you're going to want to take a breath, right? And plan for the fact that your home life and your family life is going to feel very stressful, very strenuous, very busy around the holidays, but it's only going to last a couple of weeks and then things will calm down. All right, for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, this energy with Mercury stationing to go retrograde is happening in your fourth house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. And this is a beautiful energy. So I think you're going to have really wonderful communications with family or around your home, or if there's something that you're trying to do involving like maybe purchasing or selling a home even, this would be a great time for you to think about that. I mean, I don't love that Mercury's in retrograde necessarily for like purchasing a home, but maybe if it's happening at the end of November and coming into like the start of December before Mercury stations, this could be great. This would be actually a good investment for you potentially. But for the most part, this is just going to be a beautiful, harmonious energy around home, family, property, real estate. There's something going on here that you have to revisit involving your home, or an important plan involving your home or family. And there could be money coming in too, like through family or through like a letter or a message from family, or some sort of money coming in involving your home even. And that could be really nice for you. There could be an idea or suggestion that comes from family that brings money into the mix, or a loan that comes through a family member that could be very helpful for you through the holidays. That being said, as we move into the second part of this Mercury retrograde after December 22nd, Mercury is going to be stationing on the 1st of January to go direct in a conjunction with Mars and squaring Neptune. That square like really starts to take hold on the 22nd of December, which is why I mentioned that. Definitely watch the start of this video if you haven't already. But this is not the best communication energy. For you, Libra, because it is going to be trining your descendant if you're a Libra rising and sextiling your ascendant, sun, or moon, this could be okay, especially if you're a Libra rising. It's like there's an important communication that is coming back around. It's like something that came up in your mind or in a connection with somebody, or a message that came through back in November, especially at the end of November, that comes back around toward the end of December in a more abrupt way that has this sense of urgency or this sense of immediacy around it, where you have to say yes or no or make a decision or do something, but there's confusion still around it. And so I would say, yes, you have to take action on it. Yes, you need to do something, but there's something that's going to change or shift, especially around January 8th after Mercury goes direct and it comes into its final square with Neptune, because of something that you missed or you didn't understand properly, or that wasn't explained to you properly. But for the most part, this is something that has to happen. You have to move forward with it. This could also be something involving a vehicle. So it could be that your car was like puttering out or something weird was going on, like end of November, and then end of December, all of a sudden it becomes more apparent that you have to deal with it then. And, you know, there's something that might be mistaken like by the mechanic. And so you get something fixed and it's like, oh, this is better, but now I have this other thing broken or something like that. And then that gets resolved in January. That would be a more mundane explanation of what's going on here. And then for Scorpio rising. So this energy of Mercury stationing to go retrograde is happening in your third house, which is the house of communication, community, daily connections with other people, short distance travel, siblings, extended family members. This is actually a great energy for travel, I think, overall for you, especially only if you're leaving before December 22nd. But this could also be a really great energy for connecting and having really beautiful communication with your siblings and extended family members, your cousins, things like that. And so I do love this energy for that. Again, only until December 22nd this is happening. But really, you have Scorpio Venus sitting right on your ascendant and Jupiter right on your descendant, especially if your ascendant, sun, or moon is anywhere from really like 2 to 12, 13 degrees. Like this is going to be really, really beneficial and really beautiful. There's a really powerful communication that's coming back around. It's like you're reconnecting with somebody in a very big, very important way, and that's going to bring up a new opportunity for you, or it's going to bring back around an old opportunity for you. So it's kind of rehashing an old opportunity in a new, really beautiful, really harmonious way. I love this time for communication and for thinking things through and just sparkling new ideas into your mind. Again, all the way through to December 22nd. So from now, the day that this video is being put out through December 22nd, this is the time to set your New Year's resolutions, to set your intentions, to do your plans for 2024. This is your time to communicate in the way that you need to communicate with other people. This is beautiful energy for all of those things. When we get into the later half of this Mercury retrograde after December 22nd, this is where things get interesting. So we have a Mercury-Mars conjunction happening in your second house of money. There's something that you were thinking about or contemplating at the end of November involving money or finances or a big purchase or paying something off, or maybe you had like a bill that came in and you're like, I don't know if I need to pay this right now. And all of a sudden at the end of December, start of January, it's like, I do have to pay for this. I do have to do it. But the issue is that things are not quite clear yet. So it's kind of like, there's hesitation around taking action because there is some sort of confusion, and you don't want to take action like really abruptly because there's this sense of urgency. So if you have to take action and you've been thinking about it and pondering it, especially since November, and it's like all of a sudden it comes up and you have to make this financial decision, go for it, do it, but know that there's something that you're not quite seeing clearly, and there's something a little wonky about this that is going to come up for you again at the start of January, and so you just really want to be aware of that. But for the most part, yeah, or there could be arguments, disputes, disagreements, conflicts going on around finances or money at the end of this year, start of next year. Again, if that is the case, like, don't be reactionary because they don't know what they're talking about fully, and you don't know what you're talking about fully. There's something that you are not seeing clearly about this situation, and it will become very, very clear into January if you just can be patient, which is going to be very hard to be patient around this. It's going to feel like you have to do it right now, but you might not. So if you can put it off, if you can wait until January to make that decision, then great, do it. But if not, then just know that there's something that you might have to change, or that you might kind of regret because you were a little confused when you did take that financial move and take that action. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in your second house of money. There is a financial opportunity that maybe came up at the end of November that's going to come back around for you through, December 22nd. This is a really beautiful, or not end of November, sorry, start of December. So that's like right now. So right now, if you're watching this as it's coming out, there could be a financial opportunity that, like, a message that comes through, or communication. It seems fleeting and maybe you don't take advantage of it, or maybe you do take advantage of it. And when Mercury goes direct, you have to kind of renegotiate, or there's more conversation going back and forth about it, or something along those lines. But overall, there's something really positive going on here involving your work, your health, your daily routines, and your finances. And an important message is coming through around the time Mercury is stationing to go retrograde, and really into that period all the way until December 22nd. This is a great time to think about your financial goals for the year ahead for 2024. This is a really great time to call your CPA, to like redo your books and stuff before the holidays or whatever. This is a good time to discuss making an important purchase with somebody. This is a really good time to take advantage of potentially like an opportunity financially for a big project, or like a contract or something like that involving your work as well. For Mercury stationing to go direct, this is kind of an inflammatory energy that's directed at you. So I don't love this energy for Sagittarius, especially if you're a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising anywhere at the end degrees of Sagittarius. it's like you're feeling very intense and agitated, and it's like something needs to happen. There could be conflict, disagreement, disputes that go on in relationships or interpersonally, but really you're the cause of them. You might not know that you're the cause of them, but you are, especially with family. So there could be family confusion. There could be arguments, disagreements, things like that with family or around the home. That come up, and you think that it's not your fault, but it probably is, and you're confused. So just kind of keep that in mind because of the way that this is showing up in your chart. You might not want to argue your point to death because you're going to maybe regret that later when you realize, oh, I didn't have all the facts. Oh, I didn't consider their point of view. Oh, I didn't know this information. And so that could be part of this as well. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in your first house. This is a beautiful energy for Capricorns for a lot of different things. So you're going to be feeling a lot more communicative until Mercury goes retrograde, at least, so until the 13th of December. And this is a really beautiful energy for connecting with friends, networks of people, groups that you associate with by choice because you enjoy associating with them. And this is a really great time for you to do something and engage in something that you are deeply and truly passionate about and that you love, love, love to do. And to start thinking about something along those lines. It could be that you're bringing something back into the mix that you used to be really passionate about, that you used to love to do, that you used to really enjoy and engage with, and you've kind of let it fall by the wayside, and that could be a really great energy as well. This is also a really beautiful time for having really good communication with your children if you have any, now through December 22nd specifically. After that, it's a little different. But yeah, this is a really great time for having beautiful, like open, honest, powerful and fruitful communications with your children if you do have children. So I would use this energy wisely for that. For the second half of the Mercury retrograde, so after December 22nd and into Mercury stationing to go direct on January 1st and beyond, we have Mercury stationing in your 12th house, conjunct Mars, squaring Neptune in your 3rd house. This is such a classic configuration for somebody plotting, scheming, or talking about you behind your back. Someone might be gossiping, and it's very confusing to you about what's going on. Why is this person saying this thing? Who's saying this about me? Or you might not even know that somebody's kind of doing something against you behind the scenes until especially Mercury goes direct, and after January 8th when Mercury has that final pass of that square to Neptune. But there's something going on here. There's something going on behind the scenes that other people can't see, that is, and it's involving that 3rd house. It's probably gossip. Or you're gossiping. And if you're the one gossiping, that's going to come back to bite you too. So because it's like a lie. It's like somebody's spreading lies about you, or you are spreading lies about somebody else, but you don't necessarily know it's a lie. And that comes back to kind of bite you later on, when Mercury goes direct. This could also just be that you're like restless. You're not sleeping well. You're agitated. You're having a hard time resting. Like this is a time where you're not going to feel like you can rest after December 22nd and into the new year. It's like, when you're relaxed, you feel tense because there's so much that you feel like you have to do. And so that could be part of this energy too. That's okay. You do active rest from December 22nd through especially into the first couple weeks of January. Do active rest. So like exercise, walk, like make sure you're moving your body, and actually movement is going to be a really great way to get yourself to sleep, or heat, like doing like an infrared sauna or something like that. Heat and movement, and, just making sure that you're doing something to get that energy out, because it's kind of like trapped in your nervous system, and you're going to be feeling like on edge. You might even be having like nightmares and stuff like that if you're really wound up. So you want to make sure that you are getting that out in some way. This is also a really great energy for doing something actively charitable, like revisiting something that you've done in the past involving charity and doing that. That's another great outlet for this energy too. And that'll be using it up in a positive way instead of feeling really agitated or gossiping, right? For Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in your 12th house, which is the hidden house. There's something maybe that you're planning and plotting and thinking about behind the scenes. This is a great period for introspection and introspective work, journaling, meditating, doing guided visualizations, whatever it is that you can do to turn yourself inward. But this is like a productive turning inward. It's not just like vegging out and like floating into the ethers. Like this is you turning inward in order to refocus and create big plans and big goals and to figure out what it is that you want to do for your year ahead. This is a beautiful time now through December 22nd to harness that energy in a powerful way. And this is a really beautiful energy where doing that is going to improve your family life and your home life, and it's going to really improve your work and your career and what it is that you're putting out there into the world later on down the line as well. So all of that is wonderful for Capricorn. And then when Mercury stations to go direct, it's going to be in that conjunction with Mars. But for you, it's not so bad. So there could be some agitation, some strenuous energy, some agitation and arguments and disputes going on involving your friends, group associations, people that you surround yourself with by choice. But when you take yourself out of the group situation and you speak with them one-on-one, especially if you are an Aquarius rising person, you'll realize that you were mistaken about something or they were mistaken about something, and you'll be able to very easily clear the air. So if you do have disputes, arguments, disagreements, something that comes up with friends, and especially if it's coming from them, and you're like, where is this coming from? If you single them out and if you work one-on-one with somebody, that's going to be beautiful energy. And that's where you can like work on this together. It's probably going to be something that like already came up like a month ago and it's coming back around. And it's like, why are we still talking about this? And then you guys get in a fight about it or something like that. And you're still talking about it because you're both confused. Like you don't have all of the information if that is the case. This could be a really great time to revisit doing something together with somebody. That's another really great way that you could use this energy positively. So initiating or reinitiating an old action in combination with somebody else, like in a partnership or in a friendship. This is a really great time to do that as well. Finally, for Pisces and Pisces rising. So for Pisces, Mercury is stationing to go retrograde in this beautiful harmonious trine with Jupiter and sextile with Venus in your 11th house of friendship. Now through December 22nd is a beautiful, beautiful time for you Pisces to connect with your friends. So socialize, go to the holiday parties, do all the things that people are doing, go to the potluck, whatever it is that you're invited to, do it, because this is going to bring benefits that you can't even understand right now. You might be able to revisit your connections with old friends. And if that's what you're doing too, like maybe you're going back to your hometown for the holidays and you're going to potentially reconnect with people that you haven't seen in years. This is the best energy for that. It's going to go very, very well if that is something that you're doing. So do it. Even if you're not intentionally doing that, you're going to run into people from your past and they're going to be calling you or reaching out to you. And that's going to be a good thing. I think you're going to have really beautiful communication with people from the past that comes up during this Mercury retrograde. So especially December 13th through the 22nd. Use this energy for that because it's really powerful and really positive. And this is also great for your travel plans as long as you're leaving before December 22nd. So try to do that if you can. This is great energy for travel as well, even with the Mercury retrograde, especially if you're traveling to some place that you've been to already, like traveling back home or something like that. And then Mercury stationing to go direct, and Mercury after the 22nd of December, it's just going to be in this configuration, in this conjunction with Mars and in this square with Neptune. This is something weird going on with your work. It's like, it's the holidays and your boss is like yelling at you or something, or you have a client that's like making demands and like all of a sudden you're busy, work. You have to put yourself out there. You're doing something out in the world, or maybe you're actually organizing some sort of holiday thing, like big picture for like some sort of corporate event or, some sort of big thing that's out in the world that's like beyond just, what you're doing with your friends and family. And it becomes a source of a lot of stress and a lot of conflict, and your brain is just going and it can't turn off. And it's like, you're very likely to get burnt out. Don't take on too much this holiday season. If you can back out of like some commitments, if you can unobligate yourself to do some things, or just not commit to it in the first place, because it's like there's a lot going on, especially with your work and with your career around the holidays. And there's some confusion there too. So there could be like an argument, a dispute, a disagreement with a boss if you are somebody who's employed, or somebody who's in a position of power and authority. Even if you're running your own business, it's kind of like you're butting heads with somebody who's important. And there's confusion around it too. It's like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? You're going to think it's their fault. They're going to think it's your fault, and it's not going to be either of your faults. And it'll clear up after the holidays. So this is one of those things where you send that email and you're like, let's circle back after the holidays. Because after the holidays, it'll become more clear and it'll feel less intensive. Although there is something, so it's kind of like in November, something comes up and it's like, that's weird. Like with your work or with your career, it's like, that's weird. And then in December around the holidays, it comes back up like bigger, and you have to revisit it right then. And you do have to do something. But if you can put off like the conflict part of it, or like push it back, or extend it out as much as you can, so you have time to think it through, to figure out everything that's going on, to have all the facts, and then you can respond like after the holidays, especially after the 8th of January would be best if at all possible. Then, I mean, it'll go a lot better for you. And that's what's going on for Pisces. And so that's it, you guys. That's my forecast for all 12 signs. And so before we sign off, I just wanted to give you a little preview of what's coming up in my next video, which again is a 3-month forecast for the entire winter season in the Northern Hemisphere, or southern season in the South. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an astrology update, a tutorial, or this important video that's coming up in just 1 week. And so there's really 2 big main events that we're going to be covering in this video for that quarterly forecast. They're not the only things that we're going to cover, but they are the most impactful. And so first, at the end of January, Pluto moves forward into Aquarius once again, bringing intensity, empowerment, and transformative energy, especially to the fixed signs and, you know, to the air signs in a really positive way, especially Gemini and Libra. And this energy is going to very quickly be highlighted by Mercury, Venus, and Mars coming into conjunctions with Pluto the entire month of February. So this is going to serve to show us exactly what this energy is all about this year on both a personal and global scale. It's going to be a big preview. It's like you can't escape Pluto in February, because everything's hitting it and it's just reminding you again and again and again. Here's this thing. Here's what you truly desire. Here's what you need to be doing. Here's what's most important for you to be focusing on. Here's what you need to manifest, and you just can't ignore it. The second thing that's going on is that things in March are just really heating up. We're coming into the first eclipse season of the year, and Mars is making its 3rd quarter square to Uranus and Taurus. Both of these influences are bringing about the next phase of the massive, abrupt disruption and change that occurred in the fall of this year. So thinking back to October into November, all the rearranging, all the changes that you had going on in your life, that you saw your friends going through, that went on like on a global scale, this is the next phase of that. And this is big. So we're going to talk about this a lot next week. So again, hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, like it, share with a friend so they can benefit from the information that I share with you today. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.